A very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to yet another edition of the Pan-African Debate. This is the second show in this year of 2015. My name is Andrew Lumba Katsabe, your speaker for the Pan-African Debate. Now, the Pan-African Debate is an intellectual and partisan discussion forum built on the pillars of Pan-Africanism, patriotism, and nationalism, whose idea of preoccupation is to revive the intellectual discourse among the youth with the bias of reconstructing our West Pan-African patriotism values and spirit. And we do this without fear or favor. Our aim here is purely to build the Pan-African spirit, to have that collective effort to come back again and say, we need to live this as Africans. Ladies and gentlemen, listening to us from Fairway Hotel here in Mbarara on Great Africa Radio, in Mabende on Tropic FM, in Usoga, and in Jinja and Teso, Voice of Teso and Voice of Usoga. This is the Pan-African Debate. It's a live show that happens here every Friday from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. And we are discussing tonight, we are paying tribute to one of our foreign comrades whom so many people actually have not taken keen interest to understand. We have a gentleman who lived in Uganda from India and lived here, but after some time, when he was chased, he went to Canada, got a very good life, but again, when peace returned to Uganda, he said, I have got to return back to Uganda and live in Uganda, and I must die in Uganda, I must be buried in Uganda. Ladies and gentlemen, we are seated at Fairway Hotel, whose proprietor died on 27th of December 2014, I beg your pardon, by the names of Shirali Bandari Jaffa, Honorable, who was a member of parliament for Kampala West. He was among the first post-independence members of parliament of Uganda. I will read a brief history about him. Bandari represented the Kabaka Yeka. There was a political party called Kabaka Yeka, which formed an alliance with Uganda People's Congress to lead Uganda to independence in 1962. He was also a businessman and funded the construction of Kibuli Mosque. Bandari hosted the Pope Paul VI at his hotel in 1969. I'm talking about Fairway Hotel where we are seated. The Pope Paul, who visited here in 1962, in 1969, it is Bandari Jaffa who vacated this place. By then it was not yet a hotel, it was his home. He vacated this home and let the Pope and his entourage sleep here. When Amin expelled Asians in Uganda, Bandari played a pivotal role in settling the Asians and getting them citizenships in Canada, India, and other countries. He went ahead and provided them with relief items. Many Muslims in Uganda remember Bandari as an philanthropist who supported the construction of mosques, schools, hospitals across the country, including Wandegea. Mr. Hussein Muhammad, commonly known as Rafiki, the proprietor of Rafiki Group of Companies, described Mr. Bandari as a man who gave his all for the good of humanity. And ladies and gentlemen, when you Google the name Bandari Jaffa on your phones, you will get a lot of information. Bandari is a gentleman who lived selflessly for others to actually live a better life. I remember when I had a chat with him before he died. I wrote a story before he died. That was about 7 years ago. And from behind his neat desk, I repeat what I did last time. This is a small story that I did. From behind his neat desk, Mr. Shirali Bandari Jaffa, 81, by that time he was about 81 years, labors to explain why he's in Uganda. Even some of his 6 children don't understand him. It can't be money, for they ask how much it is that he can't find in the West. The Fair Hotel chairman will tell them, I was born there, I have my children there, I have my friends there. my African friends, all attachment to Uganda. That was Mr. Bandari. And I like to be in Uganda, and I might wish one day that I die in Uganda. I have got a very good business in Canada. I am one of the biggest poultry farmers in Canada. So money is not the problem. My poultry farm in Canada makes more money and gives me less headache. Sherali is the story of Ugandan Asians or the Indians. Many of their parents came here as simple traders, worked their heads off, and within 70 years controlled Uganda's business sector. My father, Bandari Jaffa, came from India about 110 years ago, says Sherali. He was not a rich man. He rode a bicycle from Kampala to Luweero, bought cotton and sold it in Kampala. Bandari Jaffa went on to build a ginnery in Kampala and others in Luweero, Obulenzi. By the time he died in 1941, his youngest son Sherali was 17 years. Born at Nsambe Hospital in April 1924. Sherali Jaffa's 3 brothers and 2 sisters have since died. But the turning point for him came that cold, scary night in 1972 as he waited to flee Uganda. He had studied at Aga Khan primary and secondary schools, finished A-level in India, and returned to the family business in Uganda. The businesses had prospered and the Bandari Jaffa name lived on. Along came 6 children, 5 girls and 1 boy. Mr. Jaffa and Sherali came to be known, became a member of Kampala City Council before being elected MP for Kampala West in 1962. In 1953, Nubians around Bombo asked Jaffa to help them build a school in their area. His contribution to that cause won him many Nubian friends, who became more significant after Idi Amin rose to power. Nearly 50 years later, at 6 a.m., a friend in government sent a message: Jaffa would be killed if you didn't leave Uganda by that night. Jaffa didn't ask questions as he sat on the British Airways flight out of the tail. He couldn't wait to return home. I went to London, Jaffa said, I went to London thinking Amin would not last long, but we were wrong. 5 months later, dozens, then hundreds, thousands, and eventually tens of thousands of Ugandan Asians followed Jaffa to Britain, Canada, and America. Amin had expelled them. It had started as a joke. Amin told his soldiers in Tororo that God had instructed him in a dream to take action against Asians of British nationality. He then announced on radio that he would ask Britain to remove its citizens from Uganda. But in the following weeks, it became clear that he wanted all Asians over to Uganda, eventually giving them just 90 days to leave or end up in concentration camps. In a telegraph to Tanzanian President Julius Nyerere the following month, Amin said, the British Asians, I quote, the British Asians not only dominated trade and commerce, but siphoned away the profits to Britain. Ladies and gentlemen, I at one time 7 years ago sat down with Bandari Sherali and we had a chat, but these are some of the things that I could extract from about 2-3 hours chat when I was with him. Today we want to pay tribute to his legacy. To discuss this tonight, ladies and gentlemen, as we pay tribute to Mr. Jaffa Bandari Sherali, I have distinguished guests. The first one is Mr. Emmanuel Tumusime, is the president of Forum for Integrity and Leadership. It's a political party. A big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. I also have Mr. Andrea Charles. He's from the NCF. I don't understand what NCF stands for. Probably when he's given time, he'll explain. I also have more distinguished guests which whom I will be disclosing as time goes by. But I will open this debate with Mr. Tumusime. Mr. Tumusime Emmanuel, I will begin this debate this evening with you. Give us your ideas. How should actually Uganda behave to its maybe friends from other countries, and what do we learn from Mr. Jaffa's leadership? Let me begin with you. A reminder that we're tuned to Pan-Africa Live Debate, and this debate is live on Great Africa Radio in Imbarara, Tropical FM in Mubende,
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and dear viewers. I greet you all. First of all, I want to apologize. I came for a different meeting, but since in politics, like in other fields, you must be ready. Whatever happens, wherever you are, and especially if you are speaking about a great man like Jesus he was. So thank you for the opportunity to come and share. First of all, I also want to add thanks to God for giving us good people, wherever they come from. And this one is an exemplary man with a different origin, but whose heart was about humanity. The biggest danger we have is to lose who we are and what we are in this world. Because we are not there for ourselves only. Thanks this gentleman, who God used as an Indian, born here, accepted to be Ugandan and felt for Uganda. And I would give thanks to him, and God knows who created him, and we must thank him because he has been good to us. Now, having said that, there is a special value I see on him. You see, even us African leaders, they don't understand that we get two resources from God, life and land. And we see the issue which brings a lot of conflict is about resource, one of those resources. Either when somebody takes your life, or when somebody takes the other resource. And the good thing, this gentleman, I think in his wisdom, understood that thing very well. He knew that the resource of Uganda was in Uganda. Even if he wanted to develop himself, he still knew that he would not allow himself to be a group with which are men called Banyunyusi, and which brought a conflict. Well, of course, we know there were some problems even with our main handle. But also there are sometimes a fault of those who call investors who come to work with us. Once we don't sort out the problem in our mind, that some of the resources are a big conflict, can cause any other conflict. And I'm very surprised because they say that history does not repeat itself. Only people repeat the same mistakes. Because I'm even surprised that even those who came back, some of them again want to behave as they behaved before. They should know that the resource, to take that resource, is a very big conflict. Even me as a leader, as I speak, I will not agree somebody take our resources free. At least it must be a share for us, so that you succeed, we succeed. You win, we win. Which he understood. Because most of our investors or partners who are in Uganda, they want to win alone, like what African governments do. It is either them to win or we all lose. So it's never win-win. Which is, to me, that gentleman, the giant who's late in Uganda, contributed. He knew, because he's a human being, he was not from Mars, and by God's grace, he found himself in Uganda. So, why appreciate this gentleman as he had to rest in Uganda, as he left his wealth in Canada to come back to Uganda? Because he believed Uganda is his home. How I wish the other people who have become our partners know that Uganda is their home. Because he invested his life here, and we thank him very much. He became a political leader, became a member of parliament. He was not segregated. He joined the team of the leaders. He was welcome. I wish we could learn from him as we better Africa and Uganda. For God and my country.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, let me have Mr. Dian Truss from NCF. I will also have the opportunity to understand what NCF stands for. Thank you.
Hello, thank you, Mr. Moderator, and fellow participants, ladies and gentlemen. I'm called Adiaka Charles. Adiaka Charles comes from Karamoja sub-region, and this is my second time to be here. The first time I was here, we were discussing a matter to do with oil, to do with the lake, Victoria, all the way. Now this time around,
in fact, since you come from that sub-region that whose child has handed over himself to a certain organization, and that certain organization is also handing him to ICC. I don't know how ICC comes in the equation, but next Friday we shall be discussing that.
okay.
Your very own brother handed himself to an African setting. Then that African setting said, we cannot manage you as our son, we're handing you over to ICC. We are going to discuss that next Friday.
Interesting. So, I may not go back to that debate. It's a long debate. I'll peacefully discuss the Honorable Jaffer, because this standing we are actually paying fairway. First of all, I want to say the name Jaffer itself is a new name to me, and I would imagine at my generation to begin recuperating the views that Mr. Honorable Jaffer put forth makes me feel that Mr. Jaffer, Honorable Jaffer, was a powerful, decent man. Because if I look back to the history of our country, especially at the time of Kabaga Yaka, UPC, DP of then, and all other political parties that has participated immediately after the independence, I can say it was tough time. It was tough time, not only for Ugandans themselves, but even for those that were seen not to be Ugandans. For instance, Mr. Honorable Jaffer comes from an Indian descent. And I can tell you what, even before I begin opening a matter of that perspective, I must say, I think Honorable Jaffer was a non-racist. He must have been a man who believed in humanity in the first place. Because surmount the amount of pressure that Uganda had by that time alone for an Indian origin to sit at the legislature, at the National Assembly of a country like Uganda, then I think was a very tremendous achievement for all of us as humankind. Point number two, Mr. Honorable Jaffer is a generation of my grandfather. My grandfather was born over that time, around 1923, 1924. And I must say that we, the grandchildren of my father, are now able to even imagine that the third generation before us, the third generation that we are in following, majority of whom have forgotten the histories of those generation or grandfathers of ours. For instance, my children may not understand what my grandfather used to do. They may not know his achievements, may not know his contributions, if we in our generation don't tell them. But I believe the grandchildren of Honorable Jaffer have a word to say and can still memorize his achievements in Uganda with what we can evidently see today in Fairway Hotel. At one time, colors, be Jews, be Gentiles, humanity shall prevail, and that blacks or coloreds, whites, shall have space in the political life of the United States then, and that the proceeds of those people shall be judged by the effort and strength that they commit to their country than the judgmental view of their cowardly scheme. Therefore, I think Honorable Jaffa sought the same footage. He came to Uganda by birth, progressed step by step, given his history of struggle, became what he has become, and his name shall remain what it is, and the generations next shall proceed to cherish the wonders and the beautiful man, Honorable Jaffa. For now, I humbly thank you for calling us here, but in the next future, we shall be able to cooperate. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Atiaka Charles. We are paying tribute to Honorable Sherali Bandari Jaffa, who actually was one of the first members of parliament in the post-independence in 1962. And he came in that parliament on the ticket of Kabaka Yeka, meaning he was a man of the kingdom of Uganda. So Arnold, at your age, do you have something to share in regard to Mr. Bandari's legacy? If you have, please kindly take the platform.
I'm 23 now.
Okay.
But I have a lot to learn from you.
Okay.
So, the moderator and invited guests, and my fellow citizens. I'm Arnold, and I'm a citizen too, like you. So, the debate today, and the tribute we are to pay, Mr. Bandari. Given all the sweep of his life, like he has already said, from all that time, the 90 years he spent on earth, we really have a lot to learn from him. One, Sherali Bandari Jaffa, a loving father, as per the newspaper of New Vision, a husband, a businessman, a politician. Given all the facts, becoming the MP in that Obote One government, Bandari showed that picture that he will not perish because all of his will and all of his legacy still will live throughout as Uganda will still be. As a Ugandan of the Indian origin who loved the region, humanity, and the country of his origin, and even the people where he lived, we see a man of well-formed character who lived determined, exemplary, giving less to himself, giving life the lessons to people from all walks of life. He worked for himself, for his country, like all the winners, the lessons that we may get. The question he was giving unto us was, what can we really learn from his life? What can we learn? What can we learn, from the legacy that he has left with us? Like all the many winners. Personally, I would be prejudicing if I do not put him in the categories of Nelson Mandela, the likes of Gandhi, the likes of Junior, who fought about yes, the likes of Abraham Lincoln, the people who truly minded about other people, not just themselves. So his life in the self-study and the ultimate mystery of language, of the politics, of business in the capacity to overcome all personal losses, given the fact that he was expelled. He remained determined during the Amin's regime in the face of repeated defeatness. In all this, we see a fundamental element of the Ugandan character, a belief that we can constantly remake ourselves to fit in the larger dreams that we still abide. Getting into the Canada in Vancouver, but still seeing the best and assisting other people also to fit into that life. So the life as personally, what I could get to learn from a 90-year-old man, he makes into me the reminder that it will always seem impossible until it's done. Given the fact that he persisted through, he learned from the others, he learned from himself, he assisted all the others, and he has lived a very full life. And may his soul rest in peace.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ashola Honor. Thank you so much for your contribution. I will have Mr. Ochitiga Robin. You have Mr. Ochitiga Robin, F.
Good evening, viewers and listeners. My name is Ochitiga Ratib Benderson from Yumbe, an engineer by profession and also a logistician at the same time. At the moment, I'm director of O&A Investments based in Arua. I was reading through the autobiography of Mr. Jafar Bandari. Is a Muslim colleague to me also. Unlike other Muslims, this gentleman exhibits a great phenomenon of humanity. Also, at the moment, Muslims are not living in a very good environment, but he led an exemplary life.
I hear you're killing each other.
Sorry? No, we don't kill each other.
That's what they
Islam does not encourage killing.
That's what the government said, you're killing each other.
No, I don't want to speak for the government because I don't know. I'm not a government representative, so I cannot speak for them. But we're not killing each other. Whoever does the killing, I'm not so sure. And it's not for me to say. I'm here just to eulogize Jafar. Why I opted for business is also because I want to leave a legacy. You know, success, I've come to learn, is not determined by how much cash or money you have, but how you influence the lives of others. And that's why we are gathered here. Some of us, we never had an opportunity of interacting with Jafar, but we are able to remember him as a successful person. Particularly, any one of us who has tasted his money should raise up his hand. We have not. But he has influenced the society we are living in by giving investment, by employing people, not necessarily us who are here, you know. So he's a great man of great character. It's very unfortunate though that we get to know these great people after they have passed. How I wish I had an opportunity of interacting with him when he was alive, and we would have learned from him how he rose to that kind of success. And this is actually a problem to all of us, because in Uganda today, we have a lot of investors, we have a lot of assets in this country, but we cannot point to people who own them, and it's very unfortunate. It's only when they die that we get to know the records. So, in my opinion, investors, whatever you call them, should be known, even when they are still living. I'm happy with the guys like Sudhir, we can point to their investments, but so many other things in this country we can't point to their owners. We don't know them. You know, if Jafar had spoken to Ugandans here in Uganda when he was alive and he talked about how he rose in the ranks, perhaps some of us would have had the opportunity to benefit from his efforts directly, not indirectly. You know. So I do not have too much to say about him, but all I say is may his soul rest in peace.
Right. let me have some gender balance. Madam Genevieve Abuadi, what's your contribution? What you say?
Thank you very much, Mr. Irumba. Good evening, listeners and viewers. Actually, I don't know why Andrew has insisted on me to participate on today's debate. I purposely came to play...
Because you're a good speaker.
Thank you. Thank you for that compliment, if it's genuine. I purposely come here today to pay tributes to a fallen hero. You know, I like always bringing in some kind of examples. When I was growing up, down there in the villages, when you pass by a village and you get the villagers maybe around that area have lost the person, and as an African, this is a Pan-African debate. This culture is common in most of the African society. You pass by to grieve with the ones who are grieving, even when you don't know that this is a woman, a child, a man. You just go and join the grief. And in such tendency, you may even call that disease a man when it's a woman. And there they will know that you don't know that this is really, you're not part of the grieved family. But yeah, as our culture as African, it's a wonderful culture, it's a beautiful culture. So why was I bringing something like that? Right from the time we were here last Friday in Pan-African debate, Ilumba announced that we are going to pay tributes to the fallen Bandari, Honorable Bandari. I asked very many questions. I personally said I don't know this man, though he kept taking me slowly. But human brain matters so much, really. My brain was stuck, and I think my brain was refusing to know who Bandari was. I think I would share with colleagues tonight. I would share with them that I think most of these heroes, or most of these developers, investors, should always be made known to the society, to the community, so that when such times come, when we are paying tributes to them, it shouldn't be just coming to wonder what we can say about the fallen hero, wondering who he was, how he lived, and what he has left behind. It should be something that will be obvious, really. Like I made a joke. For me, I am not scared of anything. I said in the beginning when I came here, I said if it was maybe President Yoweri Museveni who had fallen, I would seriously give a very wonderful tribute to him, because I've known him since I was born. So I'm not trying to, insult anyone here, but I'm only trying to be realistic here. So what do we learn from the fallen Honorable Bandari? To me, listening and reading about him has made me really give him and pay him great honor. And
you see, look, Madam Genevieve, a gentleman whom you expel from your country.
Yeah.
But even when your own brothers find him in Canada, yeah, we expelled him too. He takes care of them. But even when you allow him to come back, he comes back here and says, your children need education. I will put for you schools. Your children, whose fathers chased me, need medical care. He put up some hospitals. I just want us to learn from that experience. What do we learn as Africans? That is why we need to look at his legacy very critically. Do we have more of Asians do that? Do we have more of Ugandans, but who have what to give? By the way, I also read from the other reporter from the Observer. Bandari was quoted, actually his children were saying, they were so scared about Bandari. Bandari could give everything that he had, and he also went now to get from another person. Because he believed that when he had the capacity to ask Emmanuel to Musime, Emmanuel, he would give him. But then he was so sure that a man from Ukalerwe or somebody like that would not come and ask to Musime and he would give that person. So he would give what he had and then go to Musime and give an example. He asked him and he gives him what he had given already. We wanted to really learn such acts. He gave what he could not even have in his life. He came here, he started up institutions like hospital, like mosques, like medical centers. But of which even sometimes, I'm saying sometimes, our very own government have not been able to look after them. But a person comes and puts a facility for your people, whose grandparents chased. Because you remember your grandparents chased him, but he has been able to take care of you. Today we are seated here very comfortably. It's because at one time I was able to meet him and talk to him. And he said, no. If there is anything about Pan-Africanism, and you want your people to learn from here, Please let me call my son. He called his grandson. He said, this is my son. Let him do what he wants. I will interrupt you for a minute. How are you, Honorable? How are you, Honorable? How are you?
Okay.
My name is Andrew Lumba, the speaker of this Pan-African debate, live debate at the Fairway Hotel. I'm not talking to Honorable Kirunda Kibejinja.
I am the one talking now.
Honorable Kirunda Kibejinja, some of the information I've heard at the Fairway Hotel is you're described as a son of Bandari. We are paying tribute to Honorable Bandari. How do you become a son of Bandari when you come from Jinja?
Now, you are talking to me in English.
I'm talking to you in English.
And you are talking to me on .com. Now, the person who creates a facility for you so that you are able to discuss things in English and able also to participate in the debate on .com, I think he's the real father. The other one, it was a biological requirement. So Bandari, he is one of the few activist young fellows of the grandfather of the president Dakar, who was very much flabbergasted with this stranger who was not a chief, who was not a prominent person, but who was banking money regularly on an account.
I will conclude by saying, rest in peace, Honorable Bandari. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jenna Kibabate from Uganda Federal Alliance. She also contested for Woman Member of Parliament. She lost. She says she's coming back to 16. Thank you so much. Let me have Mr. Baguma Robert Jesh from Saber Trust Associates. Yeah,
thanks for this opportunity. As our debate was today, is give tribute to the deceased person per se right now. Wow, recognition goes to him as per se. But the only thing what I always want to learn is, after something has happened, what have we learned and what are we really going to do as we who is still living, and what can we really do for this of our legacy to say? Because as a definition of legacy is property and money you've left. As the main speaker, there was a speaker who came here and he said, money is not the big thing, but it's about creating a name. And I can assure you, the only thing you can make a name in Uganda or in Africa, make money, make people. And money makes people. That's what I think. If not true, then that's your argument as well. But I appreciate, as per se, I don't know anything. I don't know much about the person we're debating about, but at least I believe like he's the owner of this place. And as an individual, and who is still living, I would like really to say, if we really want to be some people or someone who is going to be recognized, let's do good things when we're still alive. Let's do good for ourselves and do good for the people. Because that's how we can always get that attribute. That's how people can always recognize you. And good things will always make you to be awarded by good things. That's how I can say. That's my prayer. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Baguma Robert Jeshi from Saber Trust Associates. Thank you so much. Let me have Mr. Moding Andrew from Uganda Federal Alliance.
Thank you very much, moderator. Good evening, fellow debaters and the listeners out there. We are here paying tribute to the late Honorable Bandari. When I heard his biography, when the moderator was reading, it touched my heart. He was a man whom I can say cannot be replaced. If we look at ourselves, look at the Ugandans, look at the Asian community, Honorable Bandari is irreplaceable. Imagine being chased, like the moderator read to us, and you still have a heart to help the people who chased you.
It's almost beyond humanity. You still have a heart to educate them. You have a heart to treat them. Whereas majority of the Muslims would be looking for avenues of torturing the Christians. For the case of Honorable Bandari, it was a different case. He loved Christianity to the extent of hosting two popes. That is Pope Paul the 60th in 1969 and John Paul the second in 1993. Muslim, it is amazing. When I told my wife that I was going to debate on the legacy of Honorable Bandari, she asked me that when you die, my husband, what quality of mourners will come to accompany you to your grave? You know, I was like, wait, what do you mean? I said, yes. You are now going to pay a legacy to a fallen hero. And when your time comes, who will pay a legacy to you? If I put that question to all of us here, if your time came, who will pay a legacy to you?
I'm sure John Afifu would have drunkards.
Get the neighbors refused. All of us here are still young men and women. Let us learn from the fallen hero. Let us contribute. Let us do whatever is possible to make sure that we build legacy. For God's sake, wherever he is right now, he must be smiling. His soul has already rested in eternal peace. Thank you for listening to me.
That microphone is Pan-African. Cannot refuse.
A very good evening, comrades. To me, I would say, we often judge people by their actions, but sometimes it's wiser to judge them by the intentions of their actions. And that's the question I leave to you. What were the intentions of Bandari coming back to live and die in Uganda long after he was chased out of the country? We learn two things from his life. We learn patriotism and life. That is what Mr. Bandari left behind. Heroes die for a cause, and leaders live for a cause. In most cases, that's why heroes leave good stories, but leaders leave good legacies. So you can choose which side to go for. Bandari was one of the living creatures that are living on earth. We all suffer from what a disease called life. That's a disease. If you find someone mad, you ask them what are they suffering from. It's life. The poor suffer from life. So life is a disease. But what matters is how do you live with your disease up to the end of it. Because the only cure is death. But for Africans, we believe even after death, we still continue living. Bandari lived like a leader. For me, he didn't live like a hero, like my brother said here. Because he did not only leave a good story, he left a legacy. In the sense that even after 20 years, if someone mentioned Bandari's name, it could still ring a bell. Why? Because he left a legacy that even your grandkids in here will live to learn about, maybe, or learn from. Talking about a legacy, I'm going to give more of a sermon because I'm not well acquainted with Bandari, but with a few information I've got from Mr. Rumba here and the first speakers, I believe we all have to make a choice because the moment you come out of your mother's womb, obviously you catch the disease. If even you come out, the moment you're the fetus, you catch the disease of life. how do you choose to live with this disease matters. He told you to live a heroic life and leave a legacy. I would rather say live a leadership kind of lifestyle, that even after 50 years from now, even after long you're gone, your name will live on for eternity, for as long as time exists. I won't say much about that, but I will take this opportunity on this very forum to inform you members that on that cause, we offer you opportunities, Pan-Africans, to choose a life. Because Pan-Africanism, many people think it's a cult, some think it's a racial, institutional kind of organization, but to me it's a way of life. We choose to live it and leave a legacy, because it's a life of leadership. When you choose to live that life, you're leading a leadership kind of life, because you're leading your fellow race. On our 21st, we'll be launching a movement at Cavendish University. It is an opportunity for all the young people to come and be part of history making. The movement will basically be focused on the young people, African, black young people, not only in Africa but across the world, because we're scattered all over. So come join us on 21st. Let's live Bandari's lifestyle. Let's leave a legacy that we shall be remembered for what we lived for. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Abu Ogwal from TV Africa in his anchor. This show has been sponsored by Fairway Hotel. It is powered by TV Africa Channel 45, and this show runs on Sundays 2:30 p.m. and on Thursday we make a rerun at 3 p.m. This show has also been live on Great Africa Radio in Mbarara, and thanks to my producer there, Mr. Barnabas. This show is also live on Tropical FM in Mubende. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank my producers at TV Africa, Mr. Omorangira Kalema, Mr. Tabu Ogwal, and all the TV crew. This is Andrew Lumba. We are sending out